In India, there are people who claim to be living gods. They attract followers from all over the world. But there are allegations that some may be abusing their power.
He kicked this woman 3 times very hard in the abdomen.
Are the godmen who draw so many tourists to India in touch with something godly? Or are some of them exploiting their power on Earth?
We're being surrounded on all sides by supporters, and even though we're leaving.
We began our journey in the southern state of Kerala, on India's southwestern coast. We'd heard that thousands of people come here from all over the world in search of spiritual enlightenment. These pilgrims are here to worship a woman they believe is a divine presence on Earth. She's known to her followers as Amma.
We are not singing from any known prayer book or hymnal or collection of songs. Their own Amma's own bespoke book of hymns with her face on the front. This is Amma's own religion.
10,000 people live here in her ashram, a spiritual retreat for devotees. Thousands more visit every day. We were surprised to see so many white faces among them. When evening prayers finished, we saw her followers fighting to get near their idol.
It's unbelievable. It's like a rock concert or something, but it's more than that. It's grown people begging to be touched by this woman.
Many of Amma's most ardent followers come from outside India. We met Varni. She's 22. She was born in Britain but has lived here for 4 years.
Do you ever feel like she is your mother? She's more of a mother than your real mother?
I'm scared of hurting my real mother, but I do feel, yeah, I see her as my mother, definitely. I see her as my, yeah, definitely I see her as my mother.
How long do you think you'll stay here?
I don't really, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, I know everyone changes their minds, have different phases and everything, but I can see myself just staying here indefinitely.
Devotees are encouraged to do voluntary work for the ashram. These women told me they were harvesting a plant used to make garlands and herbal medicines that will be sold back to other devotees. They call this work seva. I got talking to Jane from Plymouth.
I arrived in April.
You arrived in April?
Yeah, and I'll probably stay to October when my visa runs out.
Is this what you do for seva? This is your sort of station, or...?
No, I also clean Amma's path as well. I clean her steps and the ramp up to the stage. I do that as well. I love seva.
What's so great about it?
I don't know, you feel really alive. It's selfless service, but it's something about, like, I saw Amma at 2 o'clock this morning, and there's something about the qualities of her that bring out the best qualities in you, and you just want to work for good.
Do you still have your life back in Plymouth for when you go back to it, or have you given it up?
No, your life is always wherever you are. That's where your life is. You know, I feel I choose this life. I don't think the world makes much sense at the moment in England or in the world.
Amma's ashram receives more foreign donations than any other organisation in Kerala. Ashram officials told me most of this money goes to charitable projects. Some has been spent on the huge pink tower blocks where devotees live. The souvenir stands outside the temple are another form of income.
It's obvious just from standing here what a powerful brand Amma is. You've got people queuing up to buy her picture, her CDs, her soap, her Ayurvedic medicine, even the juice that comes from the fruit that devotees have already paid for.
I'd seen devotees buy fruit from the ashram to give to Amma as an offering. Her helpers told me it's turned into juice that's eventually sold back to them. Amma has a unique way of blessing her followers. She gives them a hug. Today, Amma will receive devotees on the stage for over 15 hours straight, with no food or bathroom breaks.
I'm going to go and get my hug now. Because I'm with Gautan, I'm able to jump the queue, but normally people have to wait for hours to get this. There's a token system where you get a number to get a hug. Western people have a different system to regular Keralans. And actually, I'm quite nervous now about getting my hug. There's a great sense of expectation. You're meant to feel fantastic things when you get a hug from Amma, and I wonder how it will feel for me.
In India, it's rare for devotees to be granted a face-to-face meeting with a spiritual leader like Amma, let alone physical contact. I began to understand why her hug could be so alluring.
Nani. You're not used to having this experience with strangers of them taking you so closely into their body. So it felt remarkable in that respect. But I'm not sure I feel any spiritual conversion, I have to say. It wasn't a religious experience for me. It was just a really nice hug from a woman with a very soft, lovely body.
Amma's helpers told me she's hugged more than 30 million followers over the past 30 years. All her devotees seem to admire and respect her. I wanted to know why.
I'm coming first time, and I'm sure my problem is gone, all gone.
What problems do you hope she'll solve?
Little bit business is my dull business, and my whole body is little bit pain coming here, shoulder and 2 shoulders.
After a 7-hour wait, this man finally got his turn.
My hugging after my pain is...
Your pain is gone?
No, gone, yeah.
Because I saw there when you were kneeling down, it was painful for you to kneel down. You obviously have pain in your joints. Is it gone?
Here, many gone. Yeah. Here is many pain here, all body's pain. But you know, Amma is one time hugging.
She's hugging you.
I'm now is my body is very light, you know.
Your body feels light.
Yes, really.
Kerala has seen a boom in spiritual tourism over the past decade. At the same time, there's been a growth in the number of godmen, gurus who say they have divine powers. Spirituality is the lifeblood of the state.
If you drive up and down any road here, you'll see mosques and temples and churches everywhere. And the tourist board know that spirituality is a major draw for foreigners coming here. So much so, they market this place with the slogan, God's own country.
We arrived at Cochin, a popular stop on the tourist trail. We'd been told that a godman called Santosh Madhavan had his base in the town, but when we got there, it was empty.
This guest house used to belong to a godman, and it's all boarded up now. You can see it's not in use. And these entrance gates here, they've been smashed. Someone's come here and tried to trash the place.
Neighbours told us the guest house had been raided by the police a few months earlier. Inspector Anandraj was one of the officers on the raid. We arranged to meet him.
Anandraj has told me that this guest house was owned by Santosh Madhavan, and his very powerful followers, politicians, policemen maybe, used to come and stay here. He'd use this place to give astrological readings and tell people their future.
He said the police first became concerned about Madhavan when one of his devotees claimed he'd cheated her out of thousands of pounds.
But after they made these investigations, 2 girls came forward, 2 young girls, who said that Santosh Madhavan had sexually assaulted them.
Madhavan has been charged and is awaiting trial in a Keralan jail.
Do you think there are still corrupt and fake godmen out there still at large who haven't been arrested?
He hoped the worst offenders were behind bars, but he had doubts.
He thinks that's just the beginning of the story. He says there are many other fake godmen that must be still at large in Kerala.
It's estimated there are 3,000 godmen operating in Kerala. Most are regarded as entirely legitimate. We headed north to the town of Trichure. This temple complex is run by a family of godmen called Chatan Swamis. When we arrived, they were conducting a special ceremony.
The Chatan, the man who's shaking there, is not speaking in a language that's intelligible to people. He's speaking in a special code that his father, the senior Chatan, is translating so that people can understand. This couple here have come because the man is having setbacks in his business and he's asked for punishment to be meted out on his business enemies. He has paid 7,514 rupees for this. That's about £90. That's a lot of money here. You can tell they're very proud of the fact that they have Western devotees, proud enough to put a prominent picture in their brochure of them.
The Chattans claim to have inherited an ability to communicate with dark spirits. They say they use rituals to appease the spirits on behalf of their devotees. This man told me he's come here because his son has mental health problems.
How much have you donated to this process?
10,000, 15,000.
10,000, 15,000.
Maybe coming 5,000. We do 10,000 and yearly 1,000 something. Then
So in total, how much do you think you've donated?
middle 15,000.
15,000.
Higher up.
That's about £200, just under. And it's quite a lot of money. He says for ordinary Carolans, it's a lot of money, but for him, it's worth it.
After the sacrifice, I had a look around the temple complex.
Tucked away in the corner, if you can call it tucked away, is the house where the family of Chattans live. And it makes you think that maybe solving problems is quite a lucrative business.
The publicity brochure said the Chattans live very simple lives, but their family home seemed far grander than the other houses we'd seen in Kerala.
Chattam Swami, you say that you can cure incurable medical conditions, you can solve people's business problems, you can ensure that marriages go smoothly. How do you do that?
He told me all the problems of modern life are caused by evil spirits. By speaking directly to these spirits, the Chattans can negotiate a solution.
Why do you require your devotees to give you such large amounts of money to solve their problems?
He said the ceremonies he conducts are very expensive, and he needed to cover his costs.
He says there's no compunction on devotees to give money to him. They give according to their faith and according to what they can afford.
The Chattans appeared to have no shortage of followers willing to pay. We headed further off the tourist trail, 4 hours drive north.
We've come to Calicut to meet a man that we've heard claims he can perform miracles. He can cure the terminally ill, he can give infertile couples children.
He's known as Gopal Swami. Morning prayers were just finishing when we arrived at his temple. The devotees were very protective of their guru. Some seemed to be acting as his bodyguards. After careful negotiation, they agreed to let us meet him.
Namaskaram, namaskaram. Gopal Swami, I've heard that you have spiritual powers where you can heal people. Tell me about how you do that.
He said the gods used him as an intermediary and gave him special powers to cure.
How many people do you think you've helped to cure in this way?
He couldn't tell me exactly.
Gopal Swami says by praying and giving special medicines, he's able to cure very sick people. In fact, he says he's lost count of how many people he's able to cure.
But we heard some followers had been left distressed by his methods. We went to an affluent neighbourhood near the temple to meet some former devotees.
We're on our way to see a couple who say they've been cheated by Gopal Swami. They've been reluctant to talk about their experiences in the past, but we're going to see if they'll talk to us.
The husband agreed to an interview, but only if we hid his identity. He told me they'd tried unsuccessfully for a baby for 8 years. Doctors said there was nothing they could do, but Gopal Swami gave them hope.
Gopal Swami said that, yes, they were going to have a baby this year, and then he started asking for donations. He asked for 80,000 rupees for prayers, 10,000 rupees for food, 12,000 rupees for land.
He said they spent months praying in his temple and even told their friends they were expecting a child. But then the guru said something had gone wrong.
Gopal Swami, during one of these prayers, said that there was something in his wife's abdomen, but it was a snake, and they needed to get the snake out.
He claimed Gopal Swami then kicked her 3 times in the stomach with great force. The man said his wife spent 5 days in hospital recovering from what Gopal Swami did to her. The couple have since complained to the police. I wanted to put these allegations to Gopal Swami, but when we arrived back at the temple, we received a very different welcome.
No. We'd like to ask him some specific questions about people we've spoken to. They've told us that no, we're not going to ask him anything else, and if we carry on trying, they're going to break our camera. Someone's made some very serious allegations about Gopal Swami.
It's not interesting matter to us.
You don't want to answer these allegations?
No. Why we have to answer this?
Why? No, we just want to give you your chance to give your side of the story.
What I am saying is that there is no time to be spent to answer your question. Better you stop. You say better stop the camera.
Okay, they're telling us we have to stop filming. I think it's better for us to leave this place. We're obviously not welcome here. And now they're surrounding us. We're going. Look, we're being surrounded on all sides by supporters, and even though we're leaving. You can really understand why victims are so reluctant to come forward and say how Godmen have exploited them when you see the baying mob that surrounds the Godmen.
People with health problems are prime targets for Godmen, and we'd heard many stories of other vulnerable people who'd been exploited, but few were prepared to be interviewed. We'd heard there was a doctor in Calicut called Suresh Kumar who'd spoken out against Godmen in the past. He's in charge of a hospital that looks after terminally ill patients.
Do you have any patients right now in the institute who have been exploited by Godmen?
Most fairly, my rough estimate is that 20 to 30% of people with incurable disease have been through at least partly or fully through this sort of experience.
He said spirituality has always been part of life in Kerala.
Rural India has a tradition, very rich tradition of all these colorful ritual practices, and again, they don't feel it odd.
They don't think it's odd.
This is part of the social fabric. Rituals, astrology, all this.
While some of the Godmen's activities have roots in Hinduism, exploiting devotees for profit is not part of the Hindu tradition. Some Godmen seem to be distorting ancient Indian beliefs and using them for their own advantage. We heard a woman from a nearby village wanted to meet us.
Jija. Namaskar.
Jija Nair is 25. She used to be a devotee of a godman called Murali Krishna. Jija claimed that a few months after they met, he asked her to be his wife, and they married in a quiet ritual ceremony the next day. She says he told her to keep it a secret.
She says her family weren't present at the wedding, and they knew, and she couldn't keep it a secret.
She claims they slept together on their wedding night, and the morning after, Murali Krishna told her to leave. She says he has refused to see her ever since.
She's now convinced that he married her to exploit her so he could just sleep with her once.
She told me once it was clear the marriage was never going to be official, she lodged a police complaint against him.
Jija says her Swami is a fake, and if he doesn't get exposed, there'll be many more Jijas, many other exploited women in his ashram who have suffered at his hands. The ashram we're headed towards belongs to the Swami that Jija said exploited her. We've come to ask him what he thinks about her allegations.
Like so many others, it was obvious that Murali Krishna's face has become a marketing tool. We arrived at prayer time. The ashram was filled with devotees. Most were female. He came out of his inner sanctum to meet us.
Did Did you stage a marriage with a woman called Jija in order that you could just spend one night with her? No. No. I've spoken to Jija and she says that you did marry her just for one night, just to spend one night with her, and her family were present at the wedding as witnesses.
He denied the marriage had ever happened and said he could prove it. His aides handed me some papers from the temple where Jija alleges the wedding took place.
Murali Krishna says this document proves that no such ceremony was held and everybody is chipping in to help. They seem very well prepared to rebut these allegations.
A police investigation is still underway and the case has not been resolved.
One of Murali Krishna's henchmen just told me he knew we went to see Jija yesterday and they were prepared for us to come. They knew how to answer our questions. It just goes to show how difficult it must be for ordinary Keralans to make any complaint against these godmen.
Many high-profile Keralan godmen have been under police investigation this year. But ashrams across the state are still full, and the tourists still come. In the southern city of Quilon, people were gathering to see miracles being performed. Godmen market themselves through elaborate stunts like this. They compete to win new devotees with ever more impressive and extraordinary tricks. These men are supposedly demonstrating a miraculous resistance to heat.
The fires will burn for an hour or more. The Swami will be able to cook meals on these fires, and the people whose heads the fire is coming out of won't feel the heat. They'll feel like it's absolutely fine. They'll let the fires burn indefinitely.
But these men don't claim to have any mystical powers. They call themselves rationalists. Their group tours Kerala, trying to convince people that all miracles can be logically explained.
The reason why they felt no heat at all is because there's a dough that's completely heat-proof hidden inside the cloth.
The rationalists hope demonstrations like this will demystify the godmen. But their audience seem not to be listening.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram. What do you think, having seen them all perform these miracles, these men that aren't claiming to be godmen? What do you think?
Shamir told me it hadn't been enough to convince him.
He says the godmen do many more miracles than the miracles shown in there. They do much bigger, wider stunts. That hasn't explained everything for him, so he still believes.
Even though India is modernising, religion is still central to people's lives here in Kerala. We drove south to an ashram we'd heard was a favourite among India's growing middle classes. We'd been told this place was very respectable. It's run like a traditional Hindu retreat. There's no godman in charge here, but it still attracts hundreds of devotees.
What I've heard, a lot of the people here are professional, educated, have independent sources of wealth, which they've chosen to give up to come here.
Sarojini was a university lecturer before she moved here 15 years ago.
Are there lots of other educated, professional people like you who have come to this ashram?
So many of them, very, very highly qualified, highly educated, judges, advocates, all from all strata of the society there are people.
Why do you think that so many educated people, so many professional people here in Kerala are really drawn to religion?
They have everything in plenty, except peace of mind.
As India's economy booms, it seems that spirituality is being turned into a business, not just for Indians, but also for the spiritual tourists who visit here. And it's a business with a customer base of many vulnerable and desperate people.